We will call the meeting to order. It is September 3rd, 2025. This is the West Concord Advisory Committee, 7:30 p.m. So let's start with attendance. And John, do you want to start?
I'm here. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Yep.
Linda?
Here.
Lindsay?
Here.
And I'm here. And then so we have 3 people missing today out of our 7. So we have 4, so we have a quorum. And Elizabeth and Paul, you don't need to say you're here, right? Sorry, I'll remember this eventually. Okay, so before we open for public comment, I wanted to know who was going to take notes. It was supposed to be Allison, and Linda and I did it recently, so could either John or Lindsay do it tonight?
I'm happy to do it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's do public comment. Does anyone want to speak? Don't see anyone. Oh, okay, Emily. Yes, now I can hear you.
I'm not sure if this is the right forum. We just started looking, but my husband and I know a neighbor does also have a concern about the street that we're on. Would this be the right forum for this, or?
Well, let's hear it and maybe we can figure it out.
Well, we live in Hawthorne Village where there's a lot of children and babies and people walking with strollers, and that's on Old Stowe Road turning to Hillside, and there's no sidewalk. If you go left out, there's a very small bridge that turns into like almost a 1 lane. And what a lot of people are struggling with is people come flying up. It's like an S-shaped road up and down. I'm talking over 40 miles an hour. And if you're walking with your stroller, or you got little kids, it's just, I counted today like 5 cars. It was like a Formula One race, just racing up, and it's just getting very like scary, because for us to go on a walk, right or left, you have to choose how bad of a road danger you want. There's no sidewalk. Or so anyways, I was wondering, I don't know, can like speed bumps or something be put in? It's a scary road that we're just starting to wonder about.
Yeah, so we have a lot of town officials here.
Okay.
Elizabeth, can you tell us if she's in the right place or?
Not the right place.
Okay.
But what I am gonna suggest, so this would be something to first bring to the attention of the Concord Public Works Engineering Division.
Okay.
And you can do that through the website. I don't know it offhand. There's a I think it's CPW Engineering at concordma.gov, and provide your information and your questions. There are a lot of required design standards that go into speed bumps and signage requirements and a lot of different elements.
Yeah.
But there may be something that's planned in the works. I don't know, but that's where you want to start with.
Okay.
With that.
All right. Thank you. I just wasn't sure if this was or there, but that's very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. I can be muted again.
So there's a group in town with Public Works, Police Department, others are the traffic management group. They have a website which has a form.
Okay.
So what you're talking about in traffic could also be reported to the police department. It'll all come together.
Yeah.
Possible solutions. So there's several ways for reporting that, but there is a form on the.
Okay.
It's a traffic
management group.
Yeah, we were looking at least to start with a traffic study, because people use these back roads now as like a shortcut, and they're just like speeding through it. And there's hills coming down where if you needed to jump aside with your stroller, you're pinned. So that's where it's harder too. So
So that may be another, because there have been different traffic studies, and I think it might have been in 2022. There was a cut-through study, and so that would be information through CPW engineering and the traffic management group.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right.
Okay.
I'll mute it.
So next we can approve the minutes from our 7:30 meeting. Did everyone get a chance to look at them? Yes, Lindsay, Linda, and John?
did,
yeah.
yes.
Okay, so does anyone have any last minute comments, or should we vote to approve them? Okay, so let's vote to approve them. I vote yes.
So,
Linda?
Anna, somebody
Oops.
would have to move. to
Oh,
approve
sorry.
the minutes as written, and somebody would have to second.
Okay, I move to approve the minutes as written.
A second,
Okay. John
Approved.
and Lindsay.
Approved.
Okay,
And
So that's-
you and Linda actually have to vote too.
oh, okay, I vote approved.
approved.
All right. The next thing was going to be to hear from Jennifer Shinneman. I don't see her yet. So we will come back to that one. She is the owner of the Guitar Museum of New England. So we'll come back to that. Next on the agenda is introduction of a potential new member, and that is Steve Fusco, who is here. Steve, do you want to unmute yourself and tell us a little bit about why you're interested in the group and what you could bring to it?
Hi, everybody. My name is Steve Fusco. I'm a West Concord resident. I'm a landscape architect and work for a civil engineering multidisciplinary firm. I have been working for 20 years now, which is weird to say. I used to work at the Central Park Conservancy in New York City before I moved to Cambridge, and then worked for a firm called CDM Smith, which was all municipal clients. So I have a large assortment of experience across a whole wide range of municipal and public works projects. So I'm a landscape architect, but outside of kind of the standard cut and mill parks and rec projects, I also do stormwater design, green infrastructure. I work a lot with traffic, complete streets. Overall my first job was in Worcester, and it was like master planning and streetscape planning. So it's very similar to this. And I just feel like I have a lot of experience in this realm and could help, I don't know, just help out. It's basically my intent.
Yeah. Well, I do think we need someone with your skills in the group, so I'm excited about it. So the process, Elizabeth, is the same as voting. Someone makes a motion to take a vote to advance Steve's application to the planning board.
Yes, so somebody would move to recommend to the planning board that he be the planning board nominate him to the select board.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Steve? Okay, then
I'll ask a question, just to ask a question, Steve. It sounds like your skill set's super relevant to everything a lot of things that we're doing. I don't know, is there anything specific that you've seen in West Concord advisory committee meetings that you think caught your attention, or anything that came up in conversation that you think that you'd like to specifically contribute to, or yeah, just any other comments about that?
No, I mean, this is my first meeting that I've attended. Prior to this, when I've spoken with Anna a couple weeks ago, I did some just kind of background research. I looked through the master plan document that I think was from 2010, and went through that pretty quick. It's pretty comprehensive. the traffic studies that were mentioned by the other people that were on the call, I'm aware of. So there's nothing in particular. I just think that, West Concord is like sneakily complicated. Concord itself to me feels like, it's got this kind of rural historic vibe, but it's dense and there's a lot of moving parts and things like that. So it's a lot to take on. I feel like it's a lot more complicated than like your average, suburban town. So I feel like there's a lot to dive into and it's a lot to take on. So
Yeah.
uh,
And
yeah.
and did you mention Complete Streets?
Yeah, so the firm I work for now, and we're out of Waltham, and the main kind of discipline in our office is transportation. So we do a lot of Vision Zero, which is has to do with bike safety, and Safe Streets for All, which is for schools and kind of walking and things like that. And then yeah, I've done a lot of complete streets with green infrastructure integrated throughout the country. Um, so various kind of applications, all kind of depends on your right of way widths and things like that. But yeah, I did some work in Cambridge. I've done some work in Hoboken, New Jersey on that, on Frank Sinatra Drive, which is right on the water. And then also like bikes and paths and things like that. And then I also do ecological restoration type of work. So, with all the rivers and the wetland construction and things like that, and, understanding, and there's so much development that's being proposed around here. Our wetland and our watersheds here, again, there's so many, they're kind of complicated. So to be able to understand what the downstream effects, metaphorically and physically, the downstream effects are going to be on all of those things, I think, I think we're going to need to have kind of a high level understanding of it, but then like really be able to kind of dive into the details when it comes into specific proposals or things like that, and figure out a way to kind of, have a framework in order to guide the development, because I feel like it's going to come fast and furious over the next 20 years.
Yeah, that's all super relevant. And we sort of have this like, and there's an update that we made to the master plan, and there's sort of a wish list of things that we'd like to see move forward. And I think we did a lot of work on that in the last 2 years, so it's set up for that. But
okay, that's
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, after this, I'll reach out to Anna and get some links and things like that and kind of look at it a little bit more closely. Because I just kind of real high level skimmed over it. I was gone the last couple of weeks of August too, so I kind of just jumping back into life now.
Great.
Paul?
Yeah, John, I don't know if you were asking about what Complete Streets is, but just to fill in, Complete Streets it's a Massachusetts program. Grants are given for certain projects, but the town has to prioritize those projects and submits a list to the state for funding. The list of those streets and those projects can be found on the Public Works website, because there's a prioritized list of projects in town that Alan Cathcart and others could fill you in on just sort of what the status of any of those projects are in terms of funding. So that's a formal program in the state.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, and we've had some exposure to that with Commonwealth Ave project, but it's helpful to hear that context, and maybe we can kind of plug into that going forward with our update to the master plan and the wish list, like I said, and maybe we can sort of promote some of the things that we think should happen for complete street funding.
And the Vision Zero that you mentioned, Steve, that's an idea that the speeds are such that nobody would get killed if they were hit. Is that right? Or
It's I think there's more aspects than just speed control.
Mhm.
my transportation group kind of leads that, so I don't know all the ins and outs of the traffic engineering aspects of it. Certain municipalities and stuff like that, we do things. I mean, we're piloting some like variable speed things where the speed limits actually change based on data. And there's sightline aspects and traffic counts. You have to do analysis and stuff like that. I kind of get brought into those projects to kind of do the LA type stuff and the streetscape type aspect things to make it fit into the context of the community. So that's my understanding of it. But if it's another type of grant funded program where the town can get funding to implement it. I'm not sure if the grants fund the design or just the construction. I assume the design, that's what most of them are. But if that's something that the town is interested in, I could set up a meeting with our traffic people or whatever, or just get more information and figure it out.
Okay. Well, I think your skills are really relevant, and we've been looking for someone with those kinds of skills. So I would love to take a vote. I move to take a vote to forward your application. Does anyone second it?
I second it.
Okay, and Lindsay?
Yes, same.
Okay, and John?
Yep, I'm in favor.
Okay, and I'm in favor too. And Linda, are you in?
I'm in favor.
Okay. So Elizabeth, all right, we can forward it. Okay,
I would be happy to.
very good. Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is to talk about the two projects that are sort of swirling. One is 1440 Main Street, and John, do you want to talk about that first, and then I'll talk about the Greenway?
Yeah, sure. So you have here 1144 Main Street on the agenda, and
That was
then
a typo.
okay, so is that supposed to be 1440 Main Street?
I think so, yeah.
I'm just trying to separate that from the letter of support.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could have put them next to each other.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't have too much and I didn't prepare any remarks on like the project, the 1440 Main Street project itself. Except I could just comment that, construction has certainly begun, clearing has almost completed. There was an extended negotiation on sort of rules for access and things. And I think that Elizabeth and the town did a really good job managing that. There have been a few different reports that we've had, the residents have had to make, but they were handled quickly by the police department or the town or both.
Sorry, John, that was reports on what? I'm sorry.
Just like kind of how can I say, violations of the access rules that we had negotiated during the permitting process. So there's access that's supposed to be on Main Street only, and there's some access off of there's a gateway on Highland Street that's supposed to be blocked off. Just things like that. So, but it's definitely underway. It is a profound change of the landscape, I will say that. But segueing to later in the agenda, there's a concept that the community is working on together to preserve a piece of that, and that's the last item there, lot 1A, letter of support. And I guess we'll get to that a little bit more later, but I had presented it to this group a month or so ago, and we're coming to a deadline for CPA funding, and the select board is in charge of that, so we're trying to support them.
I have to say,
Go ahead, Linda.
I have to say, when you just said, John, it's been a profound change to the landscape. It has been kind of a little bit upsetting, I will say, for a lot of the people in West Concord. I know people who literally will go down Central Street and not go past that because it's so unnerving to see it. And my husband was asking me, well, you're on the West Concord Advisory Committee, like, how did something like this, kind of happen? And I wasn't on the committee when it did happen, but maybe it's a subject for another meeting in terms of like how we, you know, I guess influence or activate our, our committee to help, inform and shape how such things do or do not happen in the future. I mean, this is obviously a done deal and no one's going to change it. And I know there's been a lot of litigious activity around it, so I don't want to, go down that pathway again, but just as a resident here who does go by it every day, I just wanted to share that because it's, I mean, in some ways, I guess you could say, well, it's so close to the T and we're trying to encourage people to live in homes where you're walkable and that's actually environmentally positive. So I see that. I'm just, I'm just sort of sharing, I guess, a pretty big event that's happened in our community that I think is a little bit, as John said, it's a dramatic change to the landscape. So I just wanted to express that. And maybe just another time we can talk about how that connects to the West Concord Master Plan and for future development of that scale, because it seems like there's just so much development going on in West Concord generally, whether it's the 40B project up at Thoreau Hills, they're tearing up a bunch of woods there. It's just it's a lot to take in, I think, for our residents.
Alan?
Alan Bogosian, 1624 Main Street, and a member of the planning board. I just wanted to mention, if that is going to disturb you, you might want to also take a look at 1606 Main Street, the project that is going to be before the Zoning Board of Appeal, where they're going to looking for permission to knock that house down, which is about 1,800 square feet, and put in a 6,600 square foot.
That's right across the street from me.
Okay, so and I will tell you, Linda, I'm 2 houses down from that.
Okay.
But once that starts, and the neighbor next to me has already said, I think I'll knock my house down and put a 6,600 square foot house in.
Yeah, and obviously, you said you're on the planning board, Alan?
Yes.
Yeah, so in the zoning board, I know there's certain regulations based on the size of the lot as to what, can be built on that. So I know that there are rules and regulations, and I'm sure
Right.
they're being adhered to. But it doesn't change the fact that it's kind of a change to maybe the character of our community.
Correct. I mean,
So that's all I've
been here for 35 years. So, there have been some changes. But I'm just calling it to the attention of the West Concord Advisory Group.
Yeah, absolutely. Anna, sorry, go ahead. You're going to say something.
Oh, I was going to ask Elizabeth, how is it that groups come before us and talk to us about their plans for a given property? We can't really ask that they do that, right? It's up to them to decide to do that.
So it is. So ultimately, this goes back to the West Concord Advisory Committee's charge, and you are a subcommittee of the planning board, initially adopted. And again, this is going way off track on your agenda, so I'm going to keep.
No, I'm sorry, that was me.
No. So I'm going to keep it brief because I don't need an open meeting law violation. But it can be something on a next agenda, or something you specifically would want to bring up with the planning board when you meet with them. And, Paul is here with the select board. Your charge is very narrow as it comes being a subcommittee of the planning board, and it was originally designed to have projects that were coming before the planning board, getting input from the West Concord Advisory Committee on those projects. Projects that go before the Board of Appeals, such as the special permit that Alan is talking about for single residential projects, are not something that would come before the West Concord Advisory Committee. I think in the 18 years that or so that I've been with the town of Concord, what the West Concord Advisory Committee and what you do want to be involved with, or projects that you do want to take on, definitely are outside of your charge. So, and there's a lot of different things happening in West Concord that it may be time to really have the committee, the planning board, the select board, the Economic Vitality Committee. There's now the West Concord Cultural Committee. There's a lot of different things happening that it may be time to really look at that charge and have it be a different type of committee, that the select board, not a subcommittee of the planning board. So I think that's probably a future agenda discussion, because we're really off topic right now. So.
Oh,
Yeah, so I don't know whether this is off topic or the intersection of two topics, but on the zoning board of appeals, they have site visits, they have hearings, they get public input on projects. So as individuals or as a group of individuals, you can have some influence in those projects. You probably can't stop a project because there's a right to build, and and there's if it's within zoning regulations, but the ZBA has some leverage, some influence in how those projects are conducted. The residence at Thoreau is the 40B project, and that was going to go forward no matter what. But over the course of time, the residents weighed in, and there's a lot of letters and input, and the ZBA did have some influence in how that project eventually turned out. Now, some will argue it's still not a great project, but it's better than it was before. So I don't know, Alan, on this project, I don't know what the public has been, if you've attended the ZBA meetings when this is going to be discussed, but it will be discussed. So stay tuned and pay attention to the details, and work with the ZBA and work with Theo, the chair, to try to make reasonable.
I was at the last meeting. I was at the last meeting and told to hurry up with my public comment, actually, because it was getting late. So,
Okay.
but I'm just saying for people to be prepared,
Yeah.
because this is what's happening in the town. So, I mean, there's nothing that says I couldn't work with my neighbor and sell both parcels of land to a developer and then put 12 units on 2 acres.
okay. Well, on that somber note, I'll tell people what happened with the West Concord Greenway since the last meeting. So for those who don't know, the West Concord Greenway was a concept we had of using the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail as sort of a spine, and then having signage along it that points out to people all the different blue and green spaces that are along the Greenway that you can get to simply by walking, without a car, with a bike or on your feet. And then having either QR codes on the signs or paper maps or both that explain a tiny little bit about the history of that piece of that parcel of land or hiking area or pond, what you can do there, if it's a trail, how long it is, just enough to encourage people to go out and explore these spaces, because we have a lot of them very close to town, but I don't think very many people know about all of them or have been to all of them. So it was a concept of sort of making something bigger than its individual parts and sort of increasing awareness and value for these spaces. So I wrote up an initial draft of a CPC application and sent it to Elizabeth to review and to Paul. And at that point, learned that Mimi Graney of the Economic Vitality Commission had a similar idea. So she's here tonight. And I invite you, Mimi, to tell us a little bit about your idea and how it differs or how it's similar.
Hi, Anna. So I'm the Economic Vitality Manager. I work out of the town manager's office, but work collaboratively with lots of different departments. And this was actually a wayfinding initiative that had been started by the planning department and had already received Community Preservation Act funding for the overall project. And so there's just a little bit of funding left to kind of finish this last piece of their overall proposal. So the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail has certain design standards already in place. So that's the good part of that. We already kind of have the sample signs. And as part of this effort, what I have done is I've gone and surveyed the length of the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, documented what signage is already there. And you all might be pleased to know that there's already signage that's highlighting some of the spaces that you're talking about. And then I'm sort of, I think the other part of your goal is to really look at how to encourage people to go and explore and kind of know like, oh, the, White Pond is only, 1 mile that way. So that's one of the models. So I don't know if folks are interested in digging into kind of what that looks like. I can share my screen and show you what I've discovered so far. Would that be helpful?
Sure.
All right. So what I did, so folks can see that this is you all see the screen?
Yes.
So these are the standard signs. So you can see that there's like this kind of directory sign. There are these kind of just individual butterfly, which is kind of the icon for the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail. There's other ones that are like the icon with directional. So you can't quite see it, but it says like library, 1 mile, restrooms that way. Then there are these smaller ones that kind of meet a similar goal of telling you kind of how far away certain things are. And then there's these directory, mini directory. And what I did was I went and I can kind of show you the different layers. So this purple is the Bruce Freeman Rail, the whole stretch there. And I went and kind of took pictures along the way of different amenities that are there. And then these are kind of the key points of interest. And some of this overlaps with some of the things that you all have been looking at. So it goes from down here, actually in Sudbury, Davis Farm, which has got a big parking lot, which we can anticipate a lot of people might, park and bike. It's White Pond. There is Dugan Brook, the back of the Garrison building at the middle school, the rifle range in Kennedy's Pond. Up here is the Assabet River Bluff. Then West Concord Village and the MBTA. The Neshoba Brook. Then Giroux Park. So those are kind of like the highlighted locations. And then I went and marked all of the existing markers. And you can see there's actually quite a number of existing markers, including, there was highlighting specifically some of the waterways. Like, for example, Heartleaf Pond, which was one that wasn't on your list, but that was really kind of interesting. And it talks about vernal pools. There's ones here at White Pond that has little maps to the trails. In West Concord, we've got whole kiosks. So it's not really complete. So that there's not a lot of encouragement to kind of tell people like it's only a mile further on, which seems that might be the missing one. And especially the old rifle range is another one that felt like a little more detail. So I've kind of looked at what would be some of the proposed signs. So I have a set of, oh, what is it? 3 of the kind of orientation signs that have got like the little maps. And then 1, 2, 3, 6 of these kind of arrow ones where it would have the icon and then a directional arrow on them. And I recognize it's kind of hard to take all this in. So what I can do is share this with the committee and you can look at it in a little more detail. I worked it out, and that is more than the budget that we've got available. There's only just under 17,000 for the whole project. So to do 6 of the directional ones and 3 of the mini kiosks, that's almost $6,000 over budget. So potentially there might be a little bit of funding I could get to make up the shortfall, or reduce that a little bit. But that kind of gives you a sense of like what I'm working on right now. I'm going to be kind of shopping this around to a number of the other committees, including the Economic Vitality Committee and the Friends of the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail. I know Mothers Out Front has been really interested in supporting this. So taking in everybody's kind of input on what kind of things you'd want to highlight, recognizing that, especially for those sort of more detailed kiosks, making sure it's got details like where the restrooms, and where recognizing where people might be getting on the trail. Folks have any thoughts, questions? Anna, I think you're muted.
Mike, can you hear me now? Yeah. Okay. The signage that you showed with the little dragonfly, is that already selected for the entire Bruce Freeman Rail Trail? Okay. So that has been decided. All right. Yeah, I mean, can we join this effort?
Yeah,
And
definitely.
yeah, and what about the cost of installation and sort of, well, installation, I guess, would be the big thing. Does that need to be wrapped in?
So those numbers include installation. They're not updated. So that was prices what it was a couple years ago when another community installed them. So that might be a little higher now, but it's at least to get a ballpark of what we're looking at.
Okay, and had you had the same idea of like having QR code or something where people can get a little more information, like, can I take my dog to rifle range, and like what's the mileage so I know whether or not to take my kids with me? Was there a way to expand the information that's available?
The standard on the sign doesn't really invite itself for QR codes, and assuming things like people probably have already been looking up from home when they've got their dog about whether they should bring their dog. Some of the existing maps you could have a fair amount of detail, so we can dig into like what those designs might look like. I've been sort of looking at what the signs are in other communities, and as sort of a model of what we can do. But if you see some of the existing signage out there, it's got a lot of information already.
Yeah, yeah, okay. I mean, I would like to join this effort. And then when were you thinking of applying for your additional funds?
So funds, I probably wouldn't apply to the CP funds because it's kind of a long process and it's only a small amount of money. There might be some little tiny pots of ARPA money available that might be able to make up that shortfall. I might see if the Friends of the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail maybe have a little bit of funding. I am trying to not have a lot of mission creep and go too far beyond the existing budget, because there is a little bit of a deadline to try to use the existing awarded funds that are there. So that's kind of my top priority. And if we can get a couple more signs, great, but I want to at least use up that CPC money.
And the way that it would be modified in the future, like let's say we had a whole bunch of things develop at MCI, or we got recreational amendments at Warner's Pond. how would you add that to those big overview maps? Like, should they just be, would you just put up a smaller sign at the time?
So let me just show you the signs again here. So in these smaller signs, in Acton, I saw that they actually have them in paper, that they replace them, which ends up looking a little not the greatest.
Yeah.
But it's pretty affordable to have them printed on like a sheet of PVC. That's similar to how we printed the signs, the wayfinding sign that's in front of the visitor center. There's a bunch of other ways in which we can reprint that. You can also do it as like a latex, a vinyl decal. So we can just kind of replace this interior. But I think the idea is for the signs to kind of not be changed pretty frequently. You know, maybe in 5 years we could change them, but not to make it a project.
Right. Do other people have questions? Paul?
Just as an ambassador from the CPC, because I was on CPC for a number of years, CPC has funded this type of project in the past. And while it's pretty late right now to get an application in within the next 2 weeks, looking at the long term, this is even though it's a small dollar amount, there are CPC projects that are small dollar amounts. So thinking long term of over 2 cycles, you could get funding from CPC for this. But I think that funding for the next cycle would be available until a year, that actually probably 2027. So if you think long term, there's CPC money. Shorter term, you got to look for other sources, I think.
Okay, and Mimi, you were hoping to see this get installed when, like in 2026?
Yeah, it's sort of early, 2026, recognizing that it's going to take a little time for everybody to kind of weigh in, for me to get the quotes. But it would be nice to be able to move it forward in the spring. One kind of twinkle in my eye that I'm also looking for funding for is folks maybe have seen that the Minuteman Bike Trail had done, this might be the 2nd or 3rd year, this kind of bike trail block party. And what they did was highlight the trail. They have sort of, it's a day long of activation, encouraging people to come and bike or walk the whole route. And they would have tiny little activities scattered along the way to encourage people. So one place would be balloon animals, and another one learn how to decorate your bike, and then there'd be a band playing, and then there'd be ice cream. And recognizing, I've been sort of looking at how can we really highlight the new park at Thoreau, anticipate that the redevelopment of MCI is going to be a key one, and that the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail is a key asset. And recognizing that West Concord Village is kind of one really commercial center along a long stretch of the rail trail, and the sort of leveraging that the way of really making it a real asset regionally and contribute to economic vitality. So I'm sort of looking at, could I get funding to make that effort, and sort of looking at, could that happen, summer of next year?
Okay. Steve.
I just wanted to offer, if you want to reach out to me, I designed a wayfinding system similar to this for Plymouth a number of years ago. And I've done a ton of these kind of interpretive signs and installations. So in terms of pricing, I could probably get you more accurate pricing or put you in contact with the vendors that do it. I think like probably the highest cost is going to be just on these types of projects is getting to them, because they're not easily accessible and things like that. So it drives the labor cost up a little bit. And then the price of, they're made of aluminum usually. So that's like whatever, 20 or whatever percentage more expensive it is right now. But so if you want to shoot me an email or something like that, I could give you a link or something like that to help you out with that.
Okay, thanks. So we've got the advantage of a number of other communities have already done these style of signs, so that I can borrow from the vendors that they've gone after.
Okay,
But
great.
yeah, thanks. I'm glad you've got some other leads too.
Okay, yeah, just let me know.
Yeah, I mean, this seems like really low hanging fruit to me for West Concord. Like, I think it's, I just think we should do this. It'll make the rail trail, which is already great, much more great. So as far as sort of thinking of next areas of focus, which is one item down, we can talk about that in a minute. This is something that interests me. I don't know how much it interests the rest of the group, but we can talk about that in just a second. John is back.
Oh, no.
Does anyone have any other comments before we move to the next item?
I think it's great what you're doing, Mimi, and I think it really does link into everything, that Anna's especially been spearheading here with the West Concord Greenway. So I'm really excited to see how we can help you achieve that whole vision. So anything I can do, Anna, to help, I'm also interested.
Right.
So what I'd like to do is I could kind of write this up so that it can have like, these are the spots. If we do like a direction, these are the places that we're going to be directing people to. This is some of the proposed locations. So kind of write it up so that you'll have a chance to absorb it and I can come to your next meeting if that's okay.
Sure. Okay.
And Anna, we're going to talk about the Greenway kind of separately, right? You were saying regarding just.
Well, I mean, I feel like it's so similar that we should just combine forces and try to make it one project.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a little different. Mine was really focused on just blue and green spaces, period.
Yeah.
But the one problem is that you end up with, I mean, there's already one set of signs out there for a few things like White Pond and the other pond right before it. So you end up with sort of a mishmash of multiple different kinds of signs, which I don't think is, ideal. So it might be best to try to consolidate and just make it more cohesive. But,
Yeah, I guess I'm just wondering, like I was walking the other day down Pine and someone said, oh, here's the trail to the Assabet Bluff Trail that goes to the Bruce Freeman. And I thought, wow, I didn't even know that was there. So
Yeah.
like when I've been to Wellesley and other towns, just the signage in general is clearer, even when you're passing a trail entrance. So, which is off the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail. So that's why I'm asking, because maybe that's not the butterfly sign because it's not literally on the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, but I feel like we just need better signage even at the trailheads and, entry points of these different trails within our community. So that's why I was asking, is that something, because that's not exactly, what Mimi's doing. It's related, but I'm not sure
well,
how
I mean, and
yeah.
I was thinking more of along the lines of what Mimi was doing in the sense that it would all be sort of originating along the trail, just because that's where people are walking and biking. We do, I mean, you can certainly argue that we need better signage. I think we've talked about this in this group before,
Yeah.
about how we really need better signage in this town for everything, for parking, for,
Yeah.
but I think this is a good place to start. Yeah. Elizabeth?
So I'm gonna provide a little back history and a little guidance. So for the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail specifically, that is a multi-town trail. It's not Concord. And there was a collaboration for a decade or more of all those communities coming up with a cohesive sign package that all of the communities would use along that trail. So to Anna's point, introducing new signs that are within the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail right of way is probably not something that especially this committee should move forward with. Those signage packages were approved by Mass DOT, who is the actual owner of the right of way, and while the town does have the maintenance and ability to, install these signs, that just kind of gives you the history of that signage piece. To Linda's point about the trailhead marking piece of that, that would be something that you would want to engage with the natural resources director specifically on. And, again, it sadly kind of leads back towards funding. The natural resources division, does have some budget as far as signage, but I can't speak to what that entails and how that works. And it also comes down to a staffing side of things. The land manager was gone from April to this Monday. And the assistant natural resources director left, and that position has not been filled. So there's a lot of other things that are happening. But to Linda's point about the trailhead markings, that's something specifically you should just address with the natural resources director, because that would be entirely within her purview.
So do you mean, Elizabeth, that the white larger signs like the one Mimi showed, the picture of pond, those were agreed upon as well along the whole Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, in addition to the ones that she showed us with the dragonflies?
So the standards that Mimi showed as far as the dragonfly, the look of the signage, the flags, all of those have been agreed upon as the standards for those signs. The panels, the two panels that are, those panels were developed by the Natural Resources Commission, and the town prepared those, and those panels got inserted. So the town through Natural Resources director and working with the commission created that panel. So that was something that the town, had, I'm going to say, full artistic license over.
Okay.
So okay.
Got it. Okay, so yes, Mimi, why don't you do that? Why don't you send us more information and come back to our next meeting? I think that would be great. Anything else about that? Or shall we move to the next thing? I don't see any hands. Okay. The next thing, updates to the entries on our webpage. So I've gotten started with this, and Barbara and Allison have also helped me, and John has helped me. So the items, the issues and initiatives on our webpage are 1440 Main Street, and John rewrote that for me. I haven't sent it around to everyone yet. I was going to ask tonight exactly what the process is. I updated the Giroux Park Warner's Pond entry, which is the next one. Then there's Brookside Square 13B. Now that one, Elizabeth, is that going forward, do you think, this year? Will we know more about it, or?
I'm not aware of that project moving forward at all. And in fact, I'd have to look at the dates. I'm not sure that the permit that was issued for that project is still valid.
Okay, so maybe we could determine if that one should come off our webpage, or that'd be great, but it's not urgent. The Junction Village Assisted Living is also on hold.
No, that is no longer an active project either.
Okay, that's gone. And then the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, it talks about, we're excited that it'll soon be connected, so I can update that one. And talk about perhaps signage a little bit, get people aware of that. And then there's the pedestrian bridge to Baker Avenue, which is the stated goal on that 2030? Is that what I remember from somewhere?
So I will be updating, there's actually a dedicated webpage for that project. And that will be updated probably in the next few weeks.
Okay, so we could link to
so,
that.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I thought maybe we could have a link to the MCI and the things that we had talked about that were important to us about the MCI development. And then the webpage will just look like it's new and fresh and is really focused on the things that we're talking about now. So when we have all of the blurbs updated, Elizabeth, do I circulate them to the group so everyone can read them?
You sure you can. And it would be, individually or, blind CC, and you can include myself and Heather. And then as people, reply with comments, we can take those comments in and update things. So, but so for like 1440 Main Street, I may have additional information for Warner's Pond. Definitely Delia will be the principal in charge of that, so she may have information. And then Mimi's still here, so she may also be able to provide additional information. So I would just coordinate with the appropriate staff who is managing a project or is the point of contact for a project to make sure everything's up to date and consistent. Once everything comes in, then that those changes would be either made by myself or Heather.
Okay, very good. And you said we can add pictures and
yeah,
make it a little more lively. All right. So now I wanted to talk a little bit about our areas of focus. Oh, Paul, yes.
Yeah, just on the issues, you have Rideout Park as being sort of a past issue, but actually there are improvements going on to resurface the tennis, pickleball, basketball courts. You ought to check with the Recreation Commission because there's ongoing improvements there. And of course, Giroux, what you have there, there's ongoing enhancements through the CPC project with the boat launch and playground. So that's in progress. You might just want to update the details on Giroux.
Yes, I actually already did. I just haven't circulated it. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
But Rideout I haven't done, so that's good.
Yeah, Rideout's kind of never done. It's always something that's being improved, I think, and so the recreation pieces are being improved.
Yeah, there was an old question about a fence, and then there's a new question about the basketball courts. And I think I had reported notes back to the committee from the Recreation Committee meeting about that. They're in the process of like determining or hiring a consultant to determine a plan that could then be presented to the public. And I encourage them to make sure they loop us in on that as they get closer to a design.
Yeah, because one of our purposes for existence, according to the charge, is to get people aware and interested in the things that are going on. So,
Yes.
Yeah, we should.
I also just on 13B, I had been in touch with the developers, Patrick Cleary. So when you said that, I just emailed him to see if he has any updates and if he wants to join our next meeting. So we'll see what he says.
Okay. So aside from working with Mimi and the 1440, which I don't know how much more there is going to be for us to actually do, what are the other things that people would like to work on? I don't know how much bandwidth we have. We only meet once a month. We've talked about signage a little bit, and it sounds like we're going to be learning more about signage as we work with Mimi. So would it be useful for us as a group to talk to or to think about sort of a style of signage for West Concord? Or is that something that we could do, or Elizabeth?
So I think I've made this comment before, and signage has been talked about by this committee. Signage has been talked about by the Transportation Advisory Committee meeting, advisory committee. Signage has been talked about, the Economic Vitality Committee. I'm pretty sure Mimi can jump in, but I'm pretty sure the West Concord Cultural District has talked about signage. And there's so many players involved depending on where this signage is located. If it's in the public right of way, it's the select board along with Public Works and CPW engineering and different standards. If it's in, parks, it may be recreation committee. If it's conservation land or land that natural resources has jurisdiction over, then it would be NRC. And then there's definitely going to be signage synergy as you talk about what's going to happen with MCI Concord. So I think signage is a bigger thing than just the West Concord Advisory Committee. But maybe this committee wants to reach out to all of those other committees and think about having, a signage summit where, issues and concerns, get coordinated in one spot, and then people can, talk about how to move forward or what steps need to happen. And so that would be my suggestion.
I'm already imagining the t-shirts we're going to make for the signage summit.
Yeah. I think everybody's tired of workshops, forums. So why not a signage summit?
I mean, if it's a first step, I'm not opposed to it. I don't know, what do others think?
Well, who would be the champion for the signage summit?
It sounds like we might be. No, I don't know. What do you think is appropriate?
Until there's a consensus on, what is trying to be solved, what are all the issues, what type of signs and where are they going to be located are we talking about? I don't think you can really have, one champion, because there's so many different groups involved in the conversation. So I think, the conversation there's never been a cohesive conversation about signage. Concord has never gone through a town-wide signage program that I'm aware of.
To me, it sounds like an excellent topic for public comment at a select board meeting. And, throw it to the select board and the town manager to think about. I mean, public comments are, if they're actionable, are usually acted upon in some period by somebody. So I think it's an excellent topic at that level. And whether it's Mark Howell or Kerry LaFleur taking it on, we'll see what happens.
So our committee could put together a public statement, and one of us could make it at a select board meeting is what you're saying.
I think you should watch the recording of what Elizabeth just said and pick up a lot of that rationale.
Okay. I mean, I think it's important, I think it would really help the town. And maybe it's something we can just get the ball rolling on at least. Other people on the committee, are you, do you like the idea? Do you not like the idea? Lindsay? Lindsay, John, Linda?
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea. I think it's sorely needed. As Elizabeth said, it really hasn't been something that's been a focus of the town. And, you know, when you compare other towns, whether it be Lexington or what have you, I think we're clearly undersigned. So I like the concept and I'd be happy to work on it.
Linda?
And
I'm sorry.
especially again, sorry, just with MCI, you know, coming in and further, you know, making the whole environment not more complex, but just more things to try to integrate into the community. I think it's going to, you know, make the need for accurate and well-placed signage more important.
Yeah, Lindsay, what do you think?
Yeah, the point that Linda just made about MCI is what I had in mind, since there's going to be a lot of reconfiguration in the area and probably revisions and changes needing to be made. It'll be good to just have those things ironed out, ahead of actual construction and changes being made.
And John, are you on board?
Yeah, I am on board with that. And I was just also going to comment that I think kind of stepping back, looking for next areas of focus, we could, we did a lot of work on the master plan updates. We could take a look at that and sort of prioritize things that we think we can influence and move forward, maybe for different funding sources or promoting them in the town. I think signage and wayfinding was kind of all over that master plan, but there are also other important things like safety and accessibility and improvements to the walkways.
Okay, Elizabeth, did you put your hand back up?
I did, thank you. I'd also like to add on to that signage as far as a town-wide signage. It also involves economic vitality. It also involves businesses, tourism, transportation, and all of those connections. So from that perspective, there would be a lot of stakeholders involved in that. So, I appreciate Paul's comment that, yeah, it really would need to be guided, from the top down.
Okay.
Well, just a last comment on this, and Elizabeth, you know the bylaws better than I do, but there's a sign bylaw. It doesn't cover every type of sign for every purpose, but maybe amending that sign bylaw to, for different categories might be a direction to go. I'm just, because we do have a sign bylaw, but, for basically commercial signage and, what's allowed.
Yeah, so the sign bylaw is primarily focused on private property and signage for private property. And so if the town goes out and does a signage, program and looks at wayfinding signage or, again, the town doesn't even consistently use the blue P parking that's all over the world. Those types of signs would be exempt within the public right of way.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so the next item is the Lot 1A letter of support. Did everyone get that? To see where people are, and if
Yes.
they're nodding. Thank you. Lindsay and John, did you also get it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Is everyone okay with that? Because my understanding is that I just sign it as the chair and we forward it.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Fine with it, Lindsay?
Yes.
And I know Allison's fine with it because she wrote it, the original
Wrote it,
form,
yeah.
and then John modified it. And so would I need to check with Barbara and Nicole before I send it in? Elizabeth, or?
No, because you have a quorum of members, so
Okay.
somebody would just move to submit the letter as written to the select board, second, and then vote.
Okay, does somebody want to move to submit that?
I'm gonna probably abstain because I am involved there. But while I have the mic, I'll just kind of point out that the addition that we made to the letter was to reference CPA funds application specifically. So it says WCAC additionally supports an application for CPA funds as the proposed park aligns well with the stated goals of the CPA to build and rehabilitate parks, playgrounds, and recreational fields, and to protect open space. And I think it's like a dead like bullseye on what that says. It's like this would be a heroic save for that plot of land for something to come in and fund green space, open space there as a, you know, some preservation of the community and open space that's been lost. It would be, I know that there's a ton of community and neighborhood support for this. So I think it's very, very relevant.
So if John abstains, then you'll have to wait until your next meeting,
Yeah, okay.
which I completely understand, John, and
Oh,
that's a safe move.
I don't have to abstain. I shouldn't, because I think from a timing perspective, that won't work. That won't work for the CPA funds application.
Well, don't you have until October or even a little later to get your letters of support?
Right,
They
the
don't-
letters
they-
of support does not have to be in exactly on September 19th with any application. They can come a little bit later.
But does it help it if it's there right away, or does that not matter?
It's not imperative, no, because the application comes in, you know, they get uploaded, they get sent out, the committee, you know, wouldn't start looking at them till, you know, sometime a meeting later in October.
I mean, I'm comfortable voting if there's no reason that would preclude it. I would vote and not abstain to keep it moving along. I have no issue with that if it's needed.
Okay, well, what's the word? What is the word? What is the first thing that has to happen?
Move. You have to move.
Okay, thank you. I thought it was a bigger word than that in my brain. I move to submit this letter. Does anyone second it?
I second.
Okay, and Lindsay?
And I know Paul has his hand up. I didn't know if you wanted.
Oh, okay, Paul, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't want to get in the way of the vote here. But there was a question. This is a letter of support for CPC application, or is it a letter to the select board?
It's addressed to the select board, and it references a CPC funds application that we believe the select board is working toward. That makes sense.
So there is a CPC application that you're submitting?
Yeah, so I can give you like an update on that. So we the community members are working on sort of drafting up key sections of the CPC application, and also gathering letters of support in anticipation of an actual application, knowing that the deadline is coming up quickly, and also knowing that the select board is out getting an appraisal of the plot of land to make a decision on this process.
But you're talking about two different tracks, you know, the select board making a decision or not on purchasing the land versus the CPC funding the purchase through CPA funds. Those are two
Right.
different tracks. So I was just asking which, are you trying to cover both tracks?
Yeah, so I mean, I think both tracks are happening in parallel. The letter as written is addressed to the select board.
Okay. And just one last question, the CPC application, who's submitting that? Who's the applicant? Because the department has to submit, the town department has to submit that.
Yeah.
Is it the
Elizabeth,
plan?
do you want to
is it-
comment on that?
So it's my understanding that John and a group of people are assisting to draft key components of a CPA application. At the same time, I believe the select board is moving forward to get an appraisal of the property. The CPA application would not be able to move forward if that appraisal does not come in before September 19th. Because it can't move forward unless we know what the fair market value of the property is. But it would be an application that the select board would have to first formally decide to exercise the town's right to purchase Lot 1A. So there's a couple of things moving in tandem. I'm not sure that they're all going to come together within the next 2 weeks. But John and his group are at least going to have the bones of an application ready to move forward should the select board in fact get the appraisal back and decide to move forward with the purchase of the property.
Yeah, you can submit the CPC application contingent on the select board getting the appraisal, contingent on select boards exercising those options, because that may help you with the timing. I don't know what our timing is on that, so you still could meet the deadline with, stating clearly that's contingent upon select board action. Would that be appropriate, Elizabeth?
I think it would be challenging to submit an application without it would be very challenging for the Community Preservation Committee to move forward and review an application that did not have a set dollar amount that it was looking for. And having that type of contingency would put them in a difficult position because ultimately they need to approve applications and specific dollar amounts to move forward with a warrant article. From a timing perspective, the town has 3 years in which to exercise its right to purchase that from the date the plan was endorsed. And the plan was endorsed in March of this year. So that puts it out to March of 2028. So
yeah,
there's actually this CPA funding cycle and then next year's CPA funding cycle, still available.
Yeah, I think it's doubly challenging, one for the CPC to consider, although having sat in the CPC, some applications have come in with rough estimates to be sharpened up during the period of deliberation. I'm not advocating that, but that's happened before. But I think it'd be maybe more challenging to get an applicant. You need an applicant who's either or Kerry LaFleur to sign it without being the owner of the property. I mean, it may be hard to find a signature of an applicant, Elizabeth, for an application until the appraisal is done. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. A lot of moving parts.
Well, this letter is just to the select board, so I guess the letter can go forward.
Yeah, that would be helpful. And as Elizabeth said, it's not the end of the road on the timing. Yeah,
Right. Okay. So, John, do you want to vote on the letter?
Yeah, I'll vote, and I vote yes.
All right. So I think that's the 4 of us. All right, very good. So we have a little time before 9. We could have another public comment, just see if anyone has joined. There's a few people on who haven't said anything, so make sure they get a chance.
Sorry, Anna, did we get everybody's vote? Was it?
I thought we did. Did we miss somebody?
Did everybody vote?
Me, Linda, Lindsay, you. There's only 4 of us today.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't see any hands up for public comment. The other thing that we have a little time for is, did anyone want to update us on anything they learned at other committees? I went to the NRC meeting, and they talked a bit about next steps for the Warner's Pond adaptive management plan. So that, to catch people up, the task force concluded in the middle of summer, and the vote of the task force was to the original 3 options were dredging, which was very expensive, do nothing, which morphed into try other things short of dredging, and that ended up with the name adaptive management. And the third option was dam removal. And the vote was for the adaptive management plan. So for the next approximate 5 years, a committee is going to be put together that will work on things to improve the water quality and recreational opportunities at the pond. And that committee is going to be chosen as the next step. So that's where we are with that. And the other thing I went to was the planning board, and I'll just mention one thing that I learned, which was that the property behind the first 3 houses on Barrett's Mill Road, there's a new development going in behind there, which will have, I guess, 4 houses on it. Just FYI.
Sorry, where is this, Anna? I'm trying to think.
So if you go through the roundabout and go out Barrett's Mill Road, there's away from town, away from West Concord, the first 3 houses there on the road, which are relatively new houses, there's a development going in behind them.
Okay, so by the prison, the Northeast Correctional thing,
Yeah.
across from there and behind there.
Yeah.
It's at Marabello Farm.
Oh, okay.
It's a definitive subdivision for 4 house lots.
And actually, I think this week, the historical commission are going to be choosing names at their meeting for the streets. I think they're going to be reviewing some names.
I don't have anything else on my agenda. Does anyone else have any other comments? Okay, I think we can adjourn.